Title: The Last Leaf. Alara sat on the porch of her family's old wooden house, her fingers wrapped tightly around a fraying blanket. The air was crisp, and the vibrant colors of autumn had begun to fade, leaving behind a landscape of bare branches and fallen leaves. She watched as the last few leaves clung desperately to the gnarled branches of the oak tree in their backyard. Among them was a single, golden leaf that shimmered like a beacon against the gray sky. Her mother had been ill for months, a shadow of the vibrant woman who used to dance around the kitchen, humming sweet melodies. Each day, Alara prayed for her recovery, clutching her mother's hand and whispering words of hope. But as the days grew colder, the doctor's voices grew more somber, and Alara's heart felt heavier. One evening, after a particularly difficult day, Alara climbed into her mother's bed, snuggling close. "Mom, what if the last leaf doesn't fall? What if it stays there forever?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Her mother smiled weakly, brushing a strand of hair from Alara's forehead. "Sometimes, my love, we must trust that God has a plan, even when we can't see it. That leaf may hold a secret, but it's not ours to uncover. We must have faith." Alara pondered her mother's words, staring out at the tree. The last leaf swayed gently, defying the wind, and she felt a flicker of hope ignite within her. If that leaf could hold on, so could her mother. Days turned into weeks, and the golden leaf remained. Alara spent her afternoons watching it, convinced that its survival was tied to her mother's fate. The townsfolk began to notice, and soon the story of the miraculous leaf spread, bringing visitors who would sit in awe beneath the oak, sharing prayers and stories of faith. As winter approached, the air turned bitterly cold, and snow began to blanket the ground. Alara's heart sank as she noticed the other leaves had surrendered to the frost, leaving the golden one alone. She felt a growing desperation. If the leaf fell, would her mother's strength fade too? One gray morning, Alara awoke to find the world transformed. Snowflakes danced through the air, covering everything in a soft white layer. She rushed to the window, her breath catching in her throat. The last leaf was still there, defiantly holding on, and for a moment, she felt a surge of joy. But as the day wore on, the wind picked up, howling through the trees. Alara clutched her blanket tighter, watching the leaf sway violently. "Please, God," she prayed, tears streaming down her cheeks. "Let it stay. Let my mom be okay." That evening, as Alara sat by her mother's bedside, she felt a deep sense of weariness wash over her. The leaf was still there, but her mother's breathing grew shallow. She held her mother's hand tightly, feeling the warmth slip away. "Mom, I don't want to lose you," she cried. Her mother turned her gaze to Alara, eyes filled with love. "Sweetheart, it's okay to let go. Trust that God will take care of me, just as He has taken care of you. The leaf will fall when it's time. Remember, faith is not about holding on, it's about letting go." In that moment, Alara understood. Trusting in God didn't mean clinging to what she wanted, but surrendering to His will. She closed her eyes, praying for peace for her mother and for herself. As dawn broke the next day, Alara awoke to a gentle tapping at her window. She rubbed her eyes and turned to see the golden leaf, finally letting go, fluttering gracefully to the ground. It danced in the air, a beautiful farewell, before landing softly in the snow. With a heart heavy yet light, Alara rushed to her mother's side. The room was still, yet she felt a warmth envelop her. In that moment, she knew that her mother was free, embraced by the love of God. As Alara stepped outside, she picked up the last leaf, cradling it in her hands. It was a symbol of trust, a reminder that even in the coldest winters, faith could blossom anew. With tears in her eyes, she whispered a prayer of gratitude, knowing that love, like the last leaf, would never truly fall away.